What's up, everyone? Dan Hafner coming at you. Welcome into another episode of the Run Your Day podcast. Today's topic is this: growth hurts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show.
Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, where our goal is to expand your focus and perspective on life. This is your daily dose of motivation, mindfulness, and so much more. And now, here to help you take your day back, your host, Dan Hafner.
All right, everyone. Welcome into the show today. Really excited to be with you here. I'm really excited about this show here, growing pain or growth hurts. And that is what I really wanted to talk about inside of this topic is the concept of growing pains, right? So whenever I remember growing up, my parents a lot of times would say, oh, you're just having growing pains. Or I don't know if any of you had, your parents told you this as well. I really wasn't sure, what the whole meaning of those, were. I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I don't know what that means. But the older I've got, the more I've realized that growing pains are just part of a process, right? It's the process of being uncomfortable. It's a temporary pain that is for your benefit, that is going to make things better for you in the long run. And so there's a spectrum, right? There's where you currently are is on the one end of the spectrum, and where you want to be, or your goal, or your target, or the change that you want to see is on the other end of the spectrum. The space between those is the uncomfortability zone. That is that is basically, I was going to say danger zone, but the danger zone is in the comfort zone. And the uncomfortability is where those growing pains happen, where it's full of doubt, it's full of fear, it's full of uncertainty and regret and change and a whole bunch of things. And it's all in that space between where you currently are and where you want to go. And it's a beautiful place to be, really, because that is where growth happens. That is where change happens. Inside of that, just like I spoke about yesterday, inside of that work, inside of that pain, really, those temporary pains that you go through, is where the real growth happens. So growth equals pain equals change equals results. Whether it's inside of your fitness, your business, your marriage, parenting, any other area of your life you can think of, if you're going through a period of growth, you only know you're going through a period of growth if you are in some kind of uncomfortability zone, right? If you're constantly comfortable, if you're constantly in a sedated mode, in a comfortable mode, you're probably not growing because you're not pushing. And a lot of people, our brains are wired to kind of steer away from that because we're wired to seek safety, to seek the easiest path, right? Just as human beings. And that goes back, thousands of years where like our brains were wired for survival. Like do what's safe, do what's sensible, don't, save energy, do anything you can to not push outside of that comfort zone. The beauty of this is that you still have the ability, even though your brain is constantly working against you to prevent growth from happening, it's also the best mechanism that you have to steer that growth and to push that growth. You can overcome your own mind to push through what's hurting, what's uncomfortable. Because pain really is just, it's all in your head, right? Like you might have actual physical pain somewhere in your body, but if you're working out or if you're in a business and you talk about a pain point, like it's not a real thing. It's a perceived thing in your mind, and you can overcome that by pushing through it, by dealing with those growing pains and saying, you know what, this hurts right now, but I know it's getting us to where we need to be eventually, so it's worth putting up with this temporary pain to get the ultimate payoff. It's worth putting up with the temporary pain to get the ultimate payoff. I like that. I'm going to write that down. So really, that's really all I have in this show for you. I wanted to keep it short and sweet today. But my challenge for you today is to think about, in what area or areas of your life are you finding yourself constantly seeking comfortability, and you know that you need to push through and maybe get a little uncomfortable, get some growing pains, and that will ultimately get you to where you want to go. Is it inside of your fitness, inside of your marriage or a business or your job? I really like this analogy in a job because, if you are constantly just doing what you're supposed to be doing, like that's fine, but you're never going to really get anywhere. If you're trying to progress in your career, but you're not actually doing anything extra to make it so you're noticed or make it so you are up for a promotion or whatever it may be, you're never going to get anywhere, and you have no right to complain when you don't get anywhere. If you're not actually putting yourself through the growing pains and the temporary pain, getting into that uncomfortability zone, you're really not going to get anywhere, because no one's going to put you there unless you have a great boss that just loves to do that for you. Then you're really not going to get anywhere for that. So it's something to think about today. I want you to think about how you can push through, get yourself some growing pains, and make something better. Make yourself hurt a little bit, but not in a bad way. Make yourself hurt a little bit in a good way. Because you know that growth is worth it. Change is worth it. So that's going to wrap up the show today. As always, thank you very much for joining. My name is Dan Hafner, CEO and founder of RunWage. Check us out at runwage.run, and check out our Facebook page, Twitter pages. And as always, if you have the Anchor app, please send me a message if you want to be on the show. I'd love to hear you. If any recommendations, topic ideas, we would love your feedback. So thank you again for joining today on the Run Your Day podcast, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Run Your Day podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, feel free to share today's show with friends and family. Until next time, have a great day.